it can be good. What if you get...
Or the example that you gave of maybe someone having this single life and then having their life change dramatically because they're pregnant or something like that.
I mean, well, that works both ways. I mean, I know a lot of girls who kind of never been single through their adult lives, and then all of a sudden they break up and they've been single for the first time, and then that's the tower. But the reverse is also true. You know, you can be in hermit mode for years on end, and all of a sudden, I don't know, something comes up.
I don't think that there's necessarily one way to answer the question whether you can prevent the tower or avoid the tower or not. Because I think there's probably ones that you can avoid, like a breakup. And so you were in a relationship, you wouldn't really do everything about a relationship unless you were a little bit worried anyway, or obsessive about reading your tarot or something. And if it came up, that might be, if it's in your control, if it's your fault, and I use the word very, very broadly, then yes, there is something in that you can do, you know, draw clarifiers, work it out, do da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But I think there's also stuff that the tower says, right, this is going to be horrible, brace yourself, but there's not necessarily stuff that you can do it. Say if you had a miscarriage or something.
Yeah,
there's no way, there's nothing you can do about that. And you know, my personal belief is that you'd probably be given a tower, no matter how many cards you pull, it probably wouldn't tell you what it's actually going to be. The same way that I personally don't believe you can see death unless you're like the most amazing experienced reader ever. And even then, I don't think you're meant to. That's just my personal opinion.
No, that's fine.
But I think that yes, there are therapeutic towers where you have to go through it and it all works out lovely in the end, and there are shitty towers which you can't do anything about.
Well, I would say if to make the comparison, because the tower is very similar to the Ten of Swords. I think if I were to use that analogy, the Ten of Swords would be the preventable one, and the tower would be the one that's not.
I think the Ten of Swords is more like death, actually.
Yeah, I tend to.
Because it's got the sun in the horizon again. You know, that it's like this cannot get any worse. Whereas the tower, you just think this is only just beginning, mate. You know, this is I think Ten of Swords is more like death. For me, personally.
Also, I think Ten of Swords. You don't need 10 swords to kill somebody. One is actually excessive.
Yes.
No, I actually think that we've already answered the 6th one, so I'm not going to go into it. But another question popped into my head because you're also good. I don't do reversals. And any of you do reversals?
No.
One person's
starting
to. Yeah. How would you see the tower reversed? Would that be any better or any worse?
One way that I could read it is resisting that when it's reversed, and so I would advise the querent, don't resist.
Yeah. It's gonna happen anyway.
Would you ever look at it as rebuilding?
Possibly.
I find it problematic because there are other cards that represent rebuilding.
Okay, that was just my own curiosity, and I know many of us actually do reverse.
Actually, say you are stuck in a prison if you have the tower reversed. You are continuously going on with the situation. You are not feeling comfortable with it, but you don't dare to break out. And actually, you don't get lightning from outside who destroys the whole building, or you constantly try to avoid the lightning, and you are kept in a prison. That's how I usually see it.
That brings us to the next one, which is, what card do you see as an antidote to the tower?
Ten of Cups?
Antidote, well, I would say Ten of Cups is kind of synonymous in a lot of ways, in the sense that Ten of Cups is you've sort of finished with something and then something else can happen. Ten of Cups, like the Tower, is good. You sort of reach that peak. Although in the Ten of Cups, the peak is a good one.
The Ten of Cups, yes, happiness, by emotional happiness.
But after the 10, you go back to 1.
Yeah, I'd see the aces as the antidote actually.
Rebuilding.
Well, but aces starting again. I think. I think this is the antidote. This is where you're going next. Almost not necessarily the star, but the antidote for me is the ace. This is like tearing something down. The ace is like starting again. Blank sheet of paper. Here you go. It's up to you what you do with it.
The sword coming out of the cloud, giving you the inspiration.
Ace of Swords and Ace of Wands especially, I'd say.
Yes,
It's Wands of Swords, fire and air, moving forward energy, moving on.
Yeah, and Ace of Swords particularly is like looking at something in a different way. And the Tower sometimes forces you to do that.
So
because
it depends on what you mean by antidotes. Do you mean how to prevent it or just how to make it better?
To prevent it. Antidote as to how to get over it.
How to get over it. Okay.
How to get over it? Okay.
Yeah, I think what
you get bitten by poisonous snakes. You get certain. You need You got rattlesnake bite. You need rattlesnake venom.
Yeah.
What antidote would you use?
Yeah, I would say definitely the Ace of Swords because it shows in the Rider-Waite deck especially clarity, right? The sword cutting through.
I would say most of the Cups cards because say if I had 6 of Cups next to the Tower, then I'd say, oh, it's something that's sudden but it's nice. Sort of thing.
But if you had the 8 of Cups or Death, it means that it's just going to drag on a bit, right?
Yeah.
That's not an antidote.
No, that's not an antidote. That's often the card you get though. It's the relationship one, isn't it?
But you could have like something like talking about the aces, the Tower, because you walked out of a very unhappy relationship, and the next card is the Ace of Cups, which means that not necessarily you're going to go into a new relationship straight away, but it could be a friend or it could be someone really supportive that is helping you rebuild the emotional loss that you've just lost. Because lots of people, when they get into that situation, they just like to deal with it.
It just means starting again.
It means starting again emotionally, but yes, in general terms, I'd say wands and swords.
I think for me the one that springs instantly to mind is the 4 of Swords. Just having a rest, meditating, letting it sort of sink in, letting it
chill out,
sort of clearing up afterwards before you do anything new. And whether that's an antidote or just something that you have to go through to get to the antidote, I'm not sure. But
could be taking a break.
I mean, the fact that you use the word antidote, you're already assuming the Tower itself is negative. I would say treat the Tower as neutral and then have whatever card next to it define what kind of change it is.
Yeah, but you could have an antidote to any card in the Tower deck, really. It's not necessarily
antidote to the
effect.
Okay.
6 of Cups could be very childish.
I know, but
you know what I mean.
I think the use of the word antidote already assumes that this is a poison sort of thing, and I don't think that's the correct
I didn't
approach
mean
to
it in
Tower.
a negative way, but I can see where you're coming
Maybe a
from.
7 of Cups. Just put some pink glasses and you see the world.
In different ways. I can have that and that and that and that and that. What shall I pick today?
if you really want to challenge yourself, do the Hangman.
Oh.
Ultimate. Right, you've gone through shit. Now sit another way.
Knight of Wands.
I suppose, yeah.
Kick up the ass. I don't know. Hanged Man is actually, it's starting to become one of my favourite cards because I kind of looked it up a bit more because I was having difficulties with it, and there is so much more to it than just some other stack. Actually, it's not necessarily stuck. But that's another discussion. Maybe we'll do the Hangman another time.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Yes, Anton, we all know you are a little masochist. You love the Tower.
And the devil, of course. The last bit before we get, what time is it, into the quiz, which is probably going to take about 10-15 minutes. Oh yes, for those that arrived late, there is a quiz today. The prize is the Legacy of the Divine deck from Ciro Marchetti. So the last that I came up with was: do you have any suggestions for interpreting the tower, in a difficult reading?
I always go, whoops. Personally,
Oh,
so probably very
sorry,
unprofessional.
sorry, that just fell out. Putting it back in. But
But
seriously,
like an oh moment.
I think out of anything, it's just to sort of make it a little less frightening, because it's a bit of a scary card when you're doing your reading. If you put it down and you go, ooh, you know, that's really bad. But if you put it down and go, oh no,
I mean,
you know. So.
I'll kind of agree with Jen that I'll try to make it positive and then take the therapeutic approach to it. So because, I mean, in most readings, I mean, you're reading because something's wrong. So it's usually, the tower comes out as something's gonna go right. I mean, in that sort of context, it's just the nature of tarot itself. You don't really go for readings when everything's going right. You just enjoy the moment.
That's true.
Oh, okay.
Speak for yourself.
Okay.
Well,
Most people.
but I would say that when I say the tower, I emphasize acceptance. Like, this needs to happen. And ultimately I would advise the choir to have faith that it's ultimately for good.
I think also it's important to emphasise that even though it might be good, it might not be immediately good. I mean,
It's not pleasant at that moment.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's taken me about 10, 11 months to get over my tower. And I'm only just getting to the point where I'm like, oh, that needed to happen in the actual acceptance, but my tower happened last December, and we're now
almost December again.
Almost December again. So it's important to say, look, don't expect it to be obvious at first.
It's like someone made the example of a natural disaster. It was you. The natural disaster is like if an earthquake occurs. Yes, people survive and you know rebuild, but it's never ever. It's always slow. It's always something that will take time.
I must also say, if a situation is really oppressing and you don't see a way out of it, maybe let's say job hunt or relationship which is rubbish, you might even be relieved if you see the tower coming up, because something from outside might help you to get out of this thing. I mean, it might be painful in the beginning, but maybe you will also get some enlightenment. Oh my God, yeah, I have to do this and this. Maybe I have simply to walk away from this
ultimately, yes. Someone said earlier, and I don't know if it was Heather or someone else, is that the reason why we feel so much pain is because we fear the change that we need to happen. Without the fear, there wouldn't be the pain. There would be discomfort, you know. We all know moving house or changing jobs is never a straight cut, but the fear of what's going to happen, oh my God, what's going to happen to me if I move out of here? Oh my God, is this partner right for me? Oh my God, is this job going to pay me? You put in your thoughts again forward.
Yeah. Just like to extrapolate that point, it's interesting that for people who are allergic to anesthetics, they use hypnotism.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
And they found that a lot of pain is the anticipation of pain. And so if you use hypnotism to calm someone down, you can do surgery on them and they're completely awake. And it's absolutely fine.
Through meditation too.
Talking about medicine, I was thinking that I met the tower once. I had a really infected tooth, and in the end, it needed to be extracted.
Yeah.
So it wasn't pleasant.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
But I didn't know that about hypnosis. But I'm sure all of you have injured yourself at some point or other in your lives. And you notice that, of course, it takes a milliseconds or so from the nerve endings to give your signal to your brain. But I've done it, and I'm sure some other of you have done it. Have you ever hurt yourself and you've not realised?
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later, you go, ah, bloody hell, that hurts. But 10 minutes before that, it didn't.
Yeah.
A lot of it, not all of it, of course, pain is pain, but some of it is also psychological, which is probably why hypnosis.
Yeah, sometimes you might be in a shower and then you see, oh, where did that bruise come from? I don't remember hitting myself there. Yeah.
I do that all the time. Using stuff like mindfulness meditation for treatment of chronic disorders, chronic pain disorders, and enabling people who have had, I can't think of any examples, but have been in pain for years and years and years and years and years, and enabling them to approach that pain and not necessarily even see it as a positive thing. Not say, oh, my joints really hurt, but it's great. But to be able to look at it objectively, not judge it, and just be able to accept it. And I think that's